And when you learn how to deal with your issues calmly, guess what happens? Guess what happens? You can go and you can be at peace with yourself. It causes the other or the thing to have no choice but to cease. Because you're not getting anything to feed. But when you add fuel to the fire, and you know when you be all chaotic and crazy, all you're doing is adding fuel to the fire. But when you don't add fuel to the fire, what happens? What happens? I can remember the storm came, the winter storm came, and everybody's lights was out. And in order, when you had set the fire, we had to light the fireplace. And when you light the fireplace, in order to keep the fire going, the log going, you got to feed the fire. You got to feed the fire. We got to throw fuel to the fire. You got to throw more logs in the fire. You got to throw more paper and whatever you have to keep the fire burning. But the minute you stop feeding the fire, the minute we stop feeding the fire went out. Some of you are dealing with some issues and some problems right now because you're steady feeding the fire. You're throwing logs, you're throwing slugs, you're throwing all kinds of negative comments, and you're backbiting, you're plotting evil, and you're acting out on the evil that you're plotting, and you're steady doing things to feed the fire. Sometimes they say, just be quiet, don't worry about it when the situation is arising. I know you're emotional and you crazy and you feel so upset at that moment. But if you learn how to control yourself, even if you have lashed out, and if somebody there in as a mediator and they say, just be cool, just wait, and you say, nah, I don't want to wait, you're going to hear me today, and you keep going, you're feeding the fire. And those are the point when we have to immediately or strongly or aggressively grasp our own self. It's not grasping them. Don't lay your hands on them, but lay your hands on yourself. Grasp your own self and get yourself back into control so you won't keep feeding fuel to the fire. Misunderstanding continues because we continue on feeding fuel to the fire. Drama continues to happen because we keep feeding fuel to the fire. Yeah, you might not have said it in a couple of days and you still hear them talk about you. If you go back and say something, you just fed fuel to the fire. We keep up strife with one another because we keep feeding fuel to the fire. The only way the fire is going to go out is if we don't entertain it. If we don't put fuel in that fire. And so we got to learn how to be in control of ourselves so that we don't make a scene. So that we won't keep feeding fuel so that it can die out. Because once you stop feeding fuel to the fire, once you grasp control over your own self, baby, I don't matter what they do, you got to learn how to control your own self. And when you learn how to control your own self, I guarantee you that fire will go out. That fire has no choice but to go out because there is no fuel, there is no flame, there is no fuel that's flaming the fire. We're not flaming the fire, but we have stopped and we've walked away from the fire.
NWLMIN.